compounding year on year on year of being sat at a desk, which most of my clients are, they end up with muscle imbalance, many different types, but particularly from a breathing point of view, chest is tight, neck muscles are tight, lat muscles are tight, and all of these muscles are, if they're too tight, the diaphragm doesn't function properly.
Welcome back, you guys, to another episode of Find Your Calm. And today we're going to touch on something a little different. We're going to talk about biomechanics. And today I have Rhys Hamer, who is a coach, a trainer, and expert in biomechanics. So, Rhys, let's dive right in. Tell us, what is biomechanics, and how the heck did you get involved in it?
Okay, so I've been a personal trainer since 1999, and on my journey of educating myself, I came across an amazing physio in the UK who had created this biomechanics, if you like, assessment system that is called intrinsic biomechanics. So we're looking at muscle imbalance, nerve tension, and joint dysfunction.
Okay.
So the assessment process kind of guides me when I'm dealing with clients into what's going on with their body. And then from that, I can create a bespoke program for them to get pain-free, or hopefully pain-free, and certainly moving much better. And, usually they end up able to start exercising and doing the things they want to do.
So would you say that something like this is typically more exclusive to athletes, or just anyone?
This system is absolutely open for anybody. I mean, I've worked with athletes before, triathletes, footballers, but most of my clients are just general public that are in pain. And usually the pain comes from postural imbalance based on being sat down for 8 to 12 hours of their day.
Yep.
Very, very few of my clients are in pain because of an injury. It's just usually imbalance in their body, which causes the pain. And so my job is to find out where that's coming from.
It's interesting because in the realm of Find Your Calm, of course, we go and we explore not just the scientific or the physical, but also the metaphysical.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about pain, there is the physical region as well as the energetic region. Yeah. So how do you find that in your practice the metaphysical comes into the area of biomechanics as well?
In my head, it does. In my head, it does for sure. But this is a new sort of topic, I guess, for most people. Yes. So maybe I'm thinking, because obviously when I find a new client, I do a lot of questioning, about their background, where their pains come from, how long they've had it. But I'm also looking at their lifestyle and maybe certain things that have gone on in their lifestyle that may have caused it. But I don't really talk about that side of things because, they may not be, that may be over their head. Yeah, it may not be something that they're tapped into at the moment. Yeah. But certainly I'm very aware of that.
Absolutely.
And certainly with a lot of my clients, there's, very, a lot of them aren't even breathing properly. So we're looking at basic stuff that, but for sure there's other stuff going on. Yeah.
So you just mentioned about not breathing properly. Let's dive into that. What do you mean?
So if you're stuck at a desk for 8 to 12 hours, no matter how hard you try, you're never going to be able to maintain good posture for the whole of that time.
Correct.
And compounding year on year on year of being sat at a desk, which most of my clients are, they end up with muscle imbalance, many different types, but particularly from a breathing point of view, chest is tight, neck muscles are tight, lat muscles are tight, and all of these muscles are, if they're too tight, the diaphragm doesn't function properly. And therefore, they're what we would call dysfunctionally breathing, which means that they're only breathing from their chest.
And not from...
They're not really breathing. They're not belly breathing.
Right.
Which means they're not getting much oxygen into their body. They're not getting much oxygen into their brain, so they're not functioning well at work.
Right.
You know, I mean, even brain fog and those sorts of things come from one of the reasons is just not enough oxygen. So a lot of my clients, part of what I do with them is teach them how to retrain and re-educate belly breathing once we've got rid of all the tension and the tightness that they're holding from work.
I think that's brilliant because typically when you think of breathing, you immediately go yoga or meditation. But this is a different way of looking at it for those who are not on that field. Yeah,
I mean, look, especially recently, I've noticed that a lot of clients that they're stuck in work for a lot longer. They're under a lot of pressure with work. I can see the visual signs of stress and anxiety, and yoga's not everybody's thing.
Right.
And I also think, you know, even with yoga, there's a step before that where if you're going to go into yoga and you're going to perform certain movements and postures and focus on your breathing, you have to unlock these muscles anyway. You have to release all of the tension so you can actually get your diaphragm moving. So this applies for anybody. But I try and teach my clients early so that it becomes a natural habit for them. And they're, you know, because if you're going to exercise and you can't get oxygen in, you're not going to be able to perform anyway.
Right.
So this is kind of one of the first things we look at.
We take it.
Yeah.
I really like the approach because in the realm of what we aim to explore, it is to help facilitate education for everyone across the board when it comes to ways to find your calm. And when you think of, like you said, you know, breathing, yes, yoga, those things tend to be very tied, but there are steps before then.
Yeah.
And the everyday tension that we feel, we've normalized.
Yeah, we don't think there's anything wrong.
We don't, right? So what are some of the typical things that you see that happens with people who consistently normalize that tension in their body? What are some of the things, like warning signs that, like, okay, I need to go see someone about this?
Well, like a lot of my clients don't, like we just said, don't realize there's anything wrong. So they've spent, you know, whether it's sitting at a desk for 20 years in the same posture for that amount of time, they don't recognize that they're not breathing properly. And also, when have we ever been taught how to breathe properly?
How to breathe properly, yeah.
You know, it's something that we should be learning when we're young anyway.
Exactly.
So I, you know, depending on the person in front of me, I can quite often, I can say to my clients, listen, you're not breathing properly. Let me explain. And then we can correct that really early on.
Yeah.
And some people just, I can see them when they're moving and when they're performing exercises. They're actually, once you've unlocked their tension, they can breathe naturally anyway.
Yeah.
But without that muscle release and that maybe some specific stretching, they can't perform a proper breathing technique. You know,
so let's talk about women in particular, right? Especially mothers more so, because once you go through childbirth, your physical being changes. And now more than ever, there's an alarming rate of women who are going through C-sections.
Yes.
Voluntarily and often, involuntarily.
Yeah.
That drastically changes your body, your fascia muscles, and so there's so much miseducation around that. Have you have had women that you've dealt with that you've really had to kind of restore?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a little bit more complicated in this part of the world.
Yes.
Because, you know, a lot of ladies are wanting female trainers, but from the last 20 years of experience, yes, absolutely. You know, even without a C-section, having a baby is a stress on the body, and I personally don't think there's enough education post delivery
Yes.
to get ladies back on track quickly.
Correct.
And you have a small window of opportunity to get your core strength back.
Yes.
Testing to make sure your linear elbow is back in the right position. That's not even done anymore, So there's a lot of things that I think could be done to get ladies back on track, so they're getting strong again.
Yeah.
They're feeling confident that they can get back into exercise. But from experience, I mean, if you've had a C-section, it's definitely going to need some fascial massage after 12 weeks if you can cope with it, if it's not too painful.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at resetting your postural muscles.
Correct.
So we're looking at upper back strength, we're looking at core activation, which in itself is a very complicated thing if you've never been taught before.
Correct.
And then we're looking at getting good glute strength and making sure that the pelvis is in a neutral position, which then offloads back pain. And, it's really, I try and explain it like building a house. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't build a house without the right foundations.
Right.
So the same when you're exercising, whether you've just had a baby or whether you haven't exercised for a while, do the basic fundamentals, get your core strength, get your glutes working, get your upper back posture right. Mm-hmm. Get your posture right first and then go from there. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, in the fitness world, in the fitness industry, most of the time it's quite intense exercise, and most of the exercises are actually just exacerbating postural issues that people have already got, right? So it's a double whammy.
Exactly.
You go to work and get bad posture, and then you go to the gym and you see guys bench pressing all the time and doing lots of ab crunches and lots of work for their quads and nothing for their posterior muscle groups. So it comes down to re-education.
Absolutely.
It's all education. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think you just touched on a really important topic, being that there is a difference in what you do with traditional education from a fitness perspective versus biomechanics.
Yeah.
Right? Hearing this initially, you may think, oh, okay, it's just another form of fitness. Tell us some of those key differences between true biomechanics and what, the random education that you get in the fitness world.
Yeah, so from a personal perspective, most trainers should be able to coach fundamental movements. Mm-hmm. But if that person is not able to do those fundamental movements from the start, because they've got imbalances, and then you try and overload them with some weights or make the exercise harder, they've not learnt the basics. And the problem we have an issue in the industry where trainers obviously want to progress their clients quickly, and their clients' expectations are to get quick results. But the reality is, there's almost it's like when you do a martial art, you don't go straight in and get your black belt.
Right.
You go through gradings and you have to be assessed. You have to pass a certain test.
Right.
And if you haven't passed, you don't move up. And perhaps, certainly from when I coach clients, I'm testing them all the time. If they can't squat properly, we'll get them to squat properly. Once they're squatting properly and they can do, say, 50 repetitions of a good squat without fatiguing, then I'm going to think about adding some weight. So really it's all about basics, fundamentals first, getting natural human movement patterns down to a fine T first, and then adding on the intensity to get the end result. But most people get injured far too quickly when they get into the fitness world because they haven't learnt the fundamentals. And I don't know I wouldn't like to say who's to blame, but it's not really anyone's fault. It's managing people's expectations.
Yes. Yeah. I think, I know for me personally, when I was highly uneducated when I was beginning to work out post-pregnancy and not comprehending why my body wasn't doing what I needed to do, but then later on having issues with perimenopause and other things, and realizing that certain exercises exasperate your hormone and they disrupt that.
Yeah.
Can you touch on that a little bit?
Well, look, exercise is such a small slice of the pie when it comes to well-being.
Yes.
If you want to break it into to basics, we've got movement, which we should all be doing.
Right.
We've got walking, for example. We've got play, which none of us do really anymore.
Yes.
Although I was playing, I was out with my son this weekend playing football with him, bit of coaching. But generally, most people don't get to play anymore because they're wrapped up in work.
Yep.
Adulting, as we say. Right? And then you've got movements that are going to, then you've got exercise that are going to cause hormonal adaptations in the body. That's really what lifting weight or doing some high intensity cardio is all about. It's either trying to release growth hormone into the body or rebalancing your hormone profile and trying to build muscle to keep you strong.
Yeah.
But, maybe we've lost sight of that. And the problem is the fitness industry wants people to be in the gym all the time. And the reality is to get those results, if you train smart, you don't have to be a slave to the gym. You have to understand nutrition, sleep, all these other things.
Right.
And once you get those right, you just add in a small amount of very good quality exercise and you will get the results you want. But going to the gym and repeating the same stuff all the time is just not gonna allow you to achieve your goals.
So it sounds like you definitely have a more full life cycle approach when it comes to this. So how does the work you do in biomechanics help impact people's stress levels?
Well, if we go back to breathing, if you're dysfunctionally breathing because you're tight and you've got postural problems, the signals that you're sending to the body, to the brain, through the nervous system, basically you're telling your body you're being chased by a tiger, right? That's in effect what the body is feeling.
Yeah.
So you may not feel a thing. You like we said, after years of being sat at a desk, it's very normal not to breathe properly.
Right.
You don't even know. People don't even know they're not breathing properly. But if that's extended, you're going to cause stress and anxiety on the body and the nervous system. That's going to cause hormonal imbalances within the body.
Yeah.
And even, for someone who's very stressed, weight gain can come purely from anxiety.
Oh,
and
I'm a testament to that.
Yeah. And even if they've got every other aspect of their life right, because they can't breathe and they're not getting oxygen to their body and nutrients to their body, and they're causing this stress that causes, basically you're putting yourself into a diseased state, which is why sitting for long periods is such a danger for your health if you're not doing anything away from the desk.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that you said how stress puts you into a disease state, because it's a core issue and it's not being addressed enough as the epidemic that it is.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see how, beyond, of course, you mentioned even nutrition.
Yeah.
Right. In the fitness world, you often have people are like, keto this to death, or try to balance and count every single calorie, and like that's exhausting. That's another thing to do on top of just life, right? What's your approach to nutrition from the biomechanics area?
Yeah, so my approach has changed drastically over 20 years. When I got qualified as a personal trainer, part of the diploma was to be a nutritional advisor, and a lot of what I got taught, I tried to implement with clients. And after about 18 months to 2 years, I looked at things and realized that maybe 2% of my clients were getting results. Now I know they were training all right, and I think most of the rest of their lifestyle was not too bad, but their body wasn't changing as they wanted or as I was expecting. So I had to do a lot of digging into doing my own research into nutrition. And it's a minefield of misinformation. I mean, I like to take things back to our ancestors, right? None of our ancestors counted calories. They didn't know what calories were. They just ate.
Right.
And they ate natural foods.
Right.
They ate fats. They ate proteins. They ate certain carbs depending on the season. And so if you take that as a starting point, well, that's probably too far back for most people. But if you just take out processed food, food that is full of additives, preservatives, and things like that, and you start to clean your diet out that way, that's the first thing.
Right.
So people, unless you've got an abundance of money, you're going to need to start learning how to cook for yourself. You're going to need to learn how to make pasta sauce and all the things that you would buy maybe from a shop because we're all limited with time.
Right.
You actually people have to take responsibility for themselves and learn how to cook, learn how to just look at something and know that's about what they need. Keeping it simple, a good portion of protein is about the size of your fist.
Right.
So rather than trying to count calories, which is the most brain-numbing thing that we ever thought about doing, and it's unrealistic. That's not how the body works.
Correct.
So we have to look at it and go, right, let's just simplify it. Let's start part one, get rid of as much processed food as possible. Then you can start to look at. And so I say to clients, I will give you as much information as you can handle when it comes to nutrition. I can drip feed it to you. I can give it all in one go. The reality is they're on their own journey.
Yes.
It takes time.
Yes.
It takes time to learn how to eat properly, how to cook properly, how to maybe meal prep. And there's some really good food delivery companies out there as well nowadays, especially in Dubai.
Yeah.
If you have the money and you don't have, if you're time poor, then those are good options too.
Absolutely.
But I think we kind of have to take responsibility for our whole well-being, and nutrition for me is the most important.
Absolutely.
And that's the starting point.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. I think in the grand scheme of things, the mindset, I think is critical across the board because you cannot have even taking this approach to wellness. It's impossible to do without one being able to say, I am accountable for this journey. Right. And I have to be the one that's ready to take that step and peel back that onion layer every single time. So
agreed.
I imagine in what you do with biomechanics, you are probably dealing a lot with people's mentality as well and peeling back those onion layers. Talk about that a bit, kind of what that journey looks like, because it goes beyond just training.
Yeah, for me, look, every client's different. What I do is useless if the client isn't prepared to do some homework. The greatest results I've had with clients that have had chronic pain are those people that are, in fact, they're the best clients to have because they are motivated the most. Someone's got a little niggle, they'll wait until it becomes chronic before they do anything about it. Those people that have got chronic pain, they are very motivated to get rid of that pain.
Yes.
And so usually they're the best clients. They're the ones that do their homework as I require, as I ask of them. And they're the ones that get the quickest results. And they're the people that I have to see the least amount of time. I like to see people as little as possible. If they're coming to see me just to get out of pain, or
that's a very different way of thinking. You
yeah,
want to see
100%. People are shocked. So when do I see you again? I've given you all the information. Unless you want personal training now. Right. If you've just come to be pain free and I've given you all the information you need. Right. Go away and practice. Yeah. Now I know what's going to happen. For 90% of people, they're going to go away. They're going to get themselves moving better and pain free, and then they're going to ditch the exercises. and then the pain's going to come back, and I'll get a message, hey, like I was pain free, and now those pains are coming back, and I'm like, remember the stuff that you were doing before? It still works.
Right.
Go back to it. Go back and do homework.
Right.
If you're 8 to 12 hours at a desk sitting down on a laptop, there's some balance. You have to repay that issue.
Right.
And this is not something that we ever get taught when we're growing up and going through school, etc. But if you plan to be sat at a desk for a job, if you want longevity, you want to have quality adult life and not be in pain, you need to pay back.
Right.
So, like I said, those clients that are in chronic pain, they're my favorite clients, because if I can get them out, or teach them, most importantly, how to get themselves out of pain, and I've seen them and I'm done and they're pain free, that's job satisfaction for me.
Yeah, I think that's a very full circle kind of thing, because typically in the traditional medicine field, they want you on a specific kind of thing, so you keep coming back to them again and again. Even trainers, right? It's like, come back and see me, and it's like 6-8 months later, but you're like, I want you here and I want you focused. I want you to get the result. Don't come back and see me if you don't need to. Yeah, it's a very, very different way.
It's very different. It's different, and it's difficult for people to comprehend as well, because I've had clients that have, been getting treatment for X amount of time.
Yeah.
And there's a few missing links with certain treatments, but basically I've had a lot of clients that are shocked that they're done and dusted after three hours, and I've taught them all they need to know. They're like, but when do I come back? And I'm like, well, you're not in pain now, so go and enjoy your life. Unless you want to start personal training and you want to, you have a goal, a focus from an exercise point of view, a physical point of view. My job's done.
Yeah.
Carry on and go and enjoy yourself.
That's amazing.
That blows a few people's minds.
I can imagine.
Yeah, for sure.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So, with the training that you do, is it always in person or is it virtual as well?
Usually it's personal, but obviously during COVID, I was working with people in the UK on Zoom. I was working with people in Pakistan, Canada, even in Dubai. I had clients that we were on Zoom.
Yeah.
If I've got a client that I've been working with for some time, I really don't mind training them on Zoom if required, if they're traveling. If I haven't seen them before, I would prefer like the initial consultation one-to-one.
Yeah.
So I can do the assessments properly.
Yeah.
But I've been able to modify them, and I've come up with solutions. We've been able to work through that difficult time with some great results.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen moving forward? Because we're seeing the world changing right before us, right? Yeah. We're getting more sedentary. People are working from home more often, or they're hustling even more aggressively than before, right? Stress levels are increasing.
Yep.
This doesn't look like a good way forward.
That's a very complicated question. I will try and not be too controversial, but I think personally, I think the medical industry, the wellness industry, I think at some point people will want something different. There will be an evolution to all of those things. I think nutrition hopefully will change, but again, it comes down to education.
Right.
In my opinion, we should be teaching our kids at school about nutrition.
Agree.
There should be more exercise. It should be a daily event for kids, because if they don't get a chance outside of school, school is the perfect environment, and also exercise is going to get their brain working better too.
Absolutely.
So I think it's education across the board. I personally, I don't know the last time I went to see a doctor. I don't intend to see a doctor. I don't want to see a doctor. I mean, maybe I need a knee operation, but that's an old injury that, is just, something that I need to deal with. But, I think we need to become responsible for our own health and well-being.
Yes.
There's so much information out there now. It's confusing.
Yes.
But I think people, if they're really interested, they can navigate that and they can find a solution for themselves. Or they can find someone like myself that can give them a little push in the right direction.
Right.
And then they can go and explore.
And we've talked about this before just
Yeah.
a bit. There's so much information
Yeah.
out there that people can't quite distill what they should implement
Agreed.
versus not.
Yep.
Right? So give some ideas, maybe some tips on ways that people can better distill and discern the information that's out there.
Well, I think, again, I'll try and navigate this question sensibly. But I mean, you need to be interested in your own wellness, your own health and well-being. Once you've got that, if you've got that and you're not relying on going to see a doctor, having medication, you're prepared to learn how to cook if you don't know how to cook. You have to go out there and explore and find information. Like I said, when I got into the industry, I was given some information about nutrition, and I realized that not much of it was relevant to the average person. And I've spent 20 years now researching nutrition because it's something that I'm interested in, passionate about. And I think all wellness comes from, that's your medicine.
Yes, food is our medicine.
Food, yeah, exactly. So I think people should start with nutrition. Look at that first. If they think that they're not feeling energized, if they're not looking like they want to look, if they're carrying more body fat than they want to, then nutrition is the first point of call, in my opinion.
Yes.
Then sleep, and then there's a whole other host of things that I talk about with clients. But nutrition, sleep, and get moving. No matter where you are in your fitness journey, if you've never done anything, just go for a walk. Especially now the winter's coming.
I know, right? Weather's way better here.
And we got some amazingly big malls that you can walk around without spending any money if you don't want to. But just get moving, because that's the first thing.
Right.
Every step you take, you're pumping blood around your body and you're reoxygenating that blood and you're taking yourself out of a disease state.
Yes.
And if you do nothing else, walking is amazing. If you can walk on the beach and get grounded,
Yes.
that's another
That's
amazing
another topic, right?
That's another topic for another day, maybe with someone who knows more about grounding than me. But literally those things: nutrition, sleep, get moving.
Yeah.
Just get moving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rhys, this has been wonderful. This is really, I think it's a great intro for people to comprehend the necessity of, if you want to get involved with something like biomechanics, you first have to decide that I am taking control of my life. Someone external of me no longer has control over that. And that begins the path to so many other amazing avenues to help you find your calm. So
I agree. But
thank you for joining us
awesome.
and sharing
Thank you
your
very
information
much.
today.
Thank you.